Good afternoon. Mind telling me what you're doing out here?
Waiting for the 42. He's got these from the bookstore.
Fit in the description. I got hoodie, dark pants. Let me see some ID.
Sir.
You've been hanging around here a while?
A couple minutes. Bus was late.
A lot of trouble, a lot of crews wearing green like that. You with anybody?
No, sir. I'm with Central Community College. That's my ID right there.
A white cop stopped a quiet black college kid at a bus stop and accused him of stealing his own textbooks. The officer mocked him, pushed him, and called him a thug in front of a crowd. But what he didn't know is that the shy kid he tried to humiliate wasn't just some student. He was the son of one of the most powerful men in the state. And when the truth came out, the entire police department shook in fear. Before we get into the full story, make sure you subscribe right now, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Empty your pockets, Officer Dennis O'Connor barked, his voice sharp and cold. And don't try to run. I've seen your type before. Darius Holloway stood at the bus stop clutching 3 thick textbooks against his chest. His hoodie was up. His backpack straps were tight. His fingers trembled, though he hid it. He tried to speak, tried to explain, but the officer cut him off. You fit the description of a shoplifter, O'Connor said. Same skin. Same hoodie. Same attitude. People at the bus stop stared but didn't say anything. A woman pulled her kid closer. 2 teens pulled out their phones to record. A bus hissed as it slowed down nearby, its red lights blinking. Cars crawled along the wet winter road. The sky was gray. The air felt heavy. Darius looked scared, like a trapped animal. He shook his head slowly. I didn't steal anything, he whispered. O'Connor stepped closer, boots scraping the pavement. His hand rested on his holster. His voice lowered, dripping with judgment. Yeah, he sneered. That's what you people always say. The words hit Darius like a punch. And this was only the beginning. Darius Holloway looked like an ordinary kid. 19. Skinny. Tall. Dark skin. Short hair. A little tired in the eyes. His hoodie was green and faded. The front pocket had loose strings. His jeans were old, torn at one knee. His sneakers were worn down on the sides. He didn't look like someone who had power. Or money. Or influence. He looked like someone who barely had bus fare. He held 3 textbooks. Math Foundations, Intro Business, State Government. His backpack was stuffed with notes and pencils. His fingers were rough from late-night work shifts at a grocery store. His voice was soft. He didn't like fights. He didn't want trouble. He was the kind of kid people walked past without thinking twice. But what no one at that bus stop knew, not the crowd, not the officer, was that behind his quiet face was a life filled with shadows and secrets. A father with a name spoken in courts and government buildings. A family legacy built on success and discipline. And a truth that could flip this moment upside down. But right now, to everyone watching, Darius was just another black kid in a hoodie. That's all O'Connor saw. That's all O'Connor wanted to see. Put the books down, O'Connor said, stepping even closer. Hands where I can see them. Darius lifted his head. His lip quivered. I bought them, he said softly. Here's the receipt. He reached slowly into his pocket. O'Connor grabbed his wrist. Keep your hands where I can see them, he snapped. Don't reach for anything unless I tell you. You think I'm stupid? People began whispering. Is he stealing? Maybe he did. Why would the cops stop him if he didn't do something? Their voices were quiet. Not loud enough to defend him. Only loud enough to judge. A cold gust of wind blew dust across the sidewalk. O'Connor's face tightened. You're standing here for 20 minutes, he said. Hood up. Looking around. Waiting on your gang buddies? Darius blinked, confused. No. I'm waiting for the number 7 bus to go home. O'Connor scoffed loudly. Home? Right. And where's that? The rundown complex off Miller Road? Bet you live with your mom. Bet she's real proud. His words stabbed. Darius swallowed. She is proud, he whispered. O'Connor laughed. Yeah, sure. Proud of a future dropout. A couple of teens giggled nervously. Another man shook his head in disgust, as though Darius was already convicted. Darius tried again. I'm in school, he said. Community college. I'm trying. Oh God, O'Connor interrupted. The sob story. He looked Darius up and down, slow and hateful. You people always think you deserve pity. Those words stung more than anything else. You people. Darius lowered his head and closed his eyes. His breath shook. He wanted to disappear. To run away. To scream. But he stayed still. Silent. Not because he was weak. Because he knew something the officer did not. And that truth simmered under his skin, waiting. A woman in a blue coat pulled out her phone. Should we call someone? she whispered to a man beside her. He shrugged. Maybe he did steal something. You never know. A student with purple hair shook her head but didn't speak. A middle-aged man crossed his arms and watched with interest, not concern. A teenager whispered, "Dude, this is crazy," but still didn't step forward. Everyone saw. No one stepped in. Because racism doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it watches. Sometimes it pretends to be neutral. As O'Connor circled him like a shark, Darius remembered voices from his past. His father's voice. Strong. Come. Son, power is quiet. It does not need to bark. He remembered sitting in a big office as a child, watching his father speak to governors, judges, and powerful men in dark suits. His father's name echoed in courtrooms. On TV. In law books. Darius Holloway. A name tied to influence. A name tied to fear. A name tied to respect. But no one here knew. He didn't live flashy. Didn't wear expensive clothes. Didn't walk with pride. He blended in because he wanted peace. He didn't want to be treated special. He wanted to be treated human. But today fate had other plans. O'Connor's eyes narrowed. Turn around, he growled. Hands on the wall. Darius's body froze. I didn't do anything, he pleaded. Why are you? O'Connor leaned in close. Because I can, he said quietly. And because punks like you need to learn your place. The crowd gasped. The camera zoomed in. A bus driver watched from inside his bus, wide-eyed. But still, no one helped. O'Connor shoved him lightly toward the bus shelter wall. Darius stumbled. Don't resist. O'Connor warned. Darius's heart pounded. He had never felt so small. So judged. So alone. He thought about his father. What would he say? Probably nothing. Because his father didn't need to say much. People listened to his presence. If he stood here right now, everything would change. O'Connor lifted his radio. Dispatch, this is Officer O'Connor. I'm detaining a suspicious male, possible theft suspect. Might be armed. Darius's eyes went wide. I don't have a weapon. Sure you don't, O'Connor sneered. Hands on the wall. O'Connor reached for his cuffs. Darius's knees weakened. He felt the edge of panic claw at his chest. He whispered his father's name under his breath, not asking for help but for strength. Then, a voice cut through the air. Powerful. Controlled. What do you think you're doing to my son? Heads turned. Cameras shifted. Phones lifted. And just like that, the world at that bus stop changed. Because the truth was about to land. And it would shake the city. The crowd froze. Even the wind seemed to stop. The voice came from a tall man in a long dark coat, stepping out of a sleek black SUV parked across the street. His steps were slow. Calm. Heavy with purpose. He looked like someone who belonged in a courtroom or a governor's mansion, not on a cold sidewalk in Columbus. He was a black man in his late 40s with iron-sharp cheekbones, deep brown skin, and eyes that could cut stone. His hair was trimmed neat, silver at the temples. He held himself like a king, quiet, dignified, dangerous in silence. His name was Judge Solomon Holloway. And when Officer O'Connor saw him, his face went pale. Because even a cop who thought he knew everything, knew that name. Judge Holloway stopped a few inches from O'Connor. The crowd parted for him without being asked. Bystanders who had been silent now widened their eyes, whispering. That's him. No way, the Supreme Court judge? He's the youngest in state history. Phones were already recording. Cameras zoomed. The moment was shifting. The power balance was changing. Darius stood frozen, his hands half raised, his breath still shaking. Tears clung to the corner of his eyes. Not weak tears, but the kind you get when you hold yourself together for too long. Judge Holloway looked at his son first. Are you hurt? He asked softly. Darius shook his head. No, sir. Then the judge turned to O'Connor. And his voice changed. No louder, just sharper. Clean as a blade. Explain to me, Judge Holloway said, why my son is being detained. O'Connor swallowed. Art. I received a description of a suspect, he stammered. A male, matching his appearance. Judge Holloway's eyebrow rose by a millimeter. Matching his appearance, he repeated. Or matching his skin? O'Connor opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The judge took a half step closer. My son is a college student, he said. He is holding textbooks. He is standing at a bus stop. Tell me, at what point did he become a criminal in your mind? Whispers swelled. People who had watched silently now felt shame spreading across their faces. A woman who clutched her purse earlier lowered her eyes at a man who crossed his arms uncrossed them. The teen's recording leaned in. The shift was happening. O'Connor tried to speak again, but Judge Holloway raised a finger. "Do not lie," he warned. "I despise lies." O'Connor inhaled sharply. He looked suspicious," he stuttered. "Standing there. Hoodie up. Looking around." Judge Holloway nodded slowly. "So," he said, "a black boy in a hoodie waiting for a bus is suspicious." He paused. "Good to know the police department writes dress codes for public transportation now." Someone snorted. Someone else gasped. O'Connor reddened. The judge continued. "You assumed he stole textbooks without asking. You told him he fitted type. You accused him of gang behavior. Then he leaned forward slightly. And then you touched him." O'Connor took a step back. People in the crowd felt the temperature drop. Judge Holloway's voice was calm, too calm. "You touched my son," he said. "Without cause. Without evidence. Without respect." A woman whispered, "This cop is done." O'Connor reached for his radio. "Dispatch." Judge Holloway spoke once. No, it wasn't loud. But O'Connor's hand froze. Because the judge wasn't just the judge, that he was the judge. The man who signed warrants. The man who ruled police misconduct cases. The man whose signature had ended careers. And now, he was looking at O'Connor. "Remove your hand from your radio," Judge Holloway instructed. "Now." O'Connor obeyed. A police car pulled up, backup arriving. 2 officers stepped out, both white. They looked from O'Connor to the judge and their confidence melted. One of them gulped. "Judge Holloway," he said. We didn't know." "That is obvious," the judge replied coldly. O'Connor tried to save himself. "Sir, I was just doing my job." "No," Holloway interrupted. "You were abusing it." He took one step forward. "You humiliated him in public. You belittled him. You treated him as though he was less than human." His voice hardened. "You racially profiled a child. And you did it with arrogance because you believed no one would stop you. Because you assumed the crowd would stay silent. Because you assumed he was powerless." He leaned slightly closer. "Tell me, Officer O'Connor, what do you think now?" O'Connor's voice cracked. I didn't know he was." "A judge's son?" Holloway finished. "Is that what matters to you?" The question hung in the air, sharp, deadly. Silence. The judge let it burn. "My son deserved respect," he said. "Not because of who he is related to, but because he is human." A teenager recording whispered, "Dang. That's real." O'Connor's shoulders sagged. His hands trembled. Sweat formed on his brow despite the cold. Judge Holloway wasn't yelling. He didn't need to. His words did the damage. He turned to the crowd. "How many of you watched?" he asked. "How many stood here and saw this humiliation, and said nothing?" Eyes dropped, phones lowered. Shame spread like wildfire. A woman dabbed her eyes that a young man swallowed guilt. And Darius stood there watching it unfold. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't gloating. He was just breathing. For the first time in 15 minutes, he breathed freely. Judge Holloway looked back to O'Connor. "You will remove your hand from your holster," he said. O'Connor obeyed. "You will take 3 steps back." He obeyed. "You will apologize." O'Connor hesitated. Judge Holloway's eyes narrowed. O'Connor's voice came out barely above a whisper. "Oh, I'm sorry." Darius didn't reply. The judge looked at his son. "Do you accept?" Darius swallowed. "Yes, sir. I accept." Judge Holloway nodded once. Then he turned to O'Connor again. "You will also turn in your body cam footage," he said. "Immediately. You will write a full incident report. You will contact the department's internal affairs unit. And I will make sure this event is reviewed." O'Connor almost collapsed. The crowd exhaled. And everyone knew. The cop's career was over. Judge Holloway placed a hand on his son's shoulder, not dramatic, just gentle. "Come," he said. "Your mother is expecting us for dinner." Darius nodded. He felt small, that he felt shaken, that he felt tired. But he also felt seen. Not as a suspect. Not as a threat. As a son. As a human. As someone worth defending. The teens who recorded lowered their phones, humbled. The woman in the blue coat stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered to Darius. "I should have said something." Darius looked at her gently. "You still can," he said. It was simple, but heavy. The message was clear. Silence is a choice. As they walked to the SUV, Judge Holloway said one last thing. quiet enough for the crowd to hear. Power does not protect a man, he said. Character does. He opened the door for his son. And justice, he added, belongs to everyone. The door closed. The SUV pulled away. And the bus stop was never the same again. If you believe the officer deserved that karma, hit subscribe. And answer this. If you were at that bus stop, would you have stepped in?